Hi and welcome back to Wappler Unwrapped. This is a follow-up lesson to the lesson using Google Maps as a menu. I produced this immediately after producing the first video because when I reviewed it I realized there were so many topics that I hadn't actually covered. I'd like to try and keep these videos to ideally 10 minutes, 15 minutes maximum, because that's about as long as anybody can bear listening to my voice. But there were so many things missing that I really had to do this follow-up. So let's make a start straight away. One of the things that people often query is, how do I actually dynamically center this map? It's all very well having individual maps centered on a countrywide map, but we may well want to center the map on an area where you have specifically have a pin, particularly where you have a single pin situation. Perhaps it's showing the location of a university within a single display record. People want to be able to see where it is, but we need to ensure that that map is centered on that pin. And it's fairly straightforward to do. First of all, I'm going to take out our map centering. That should nicely take us to some water at the equator. And what we're going to do is now go down to our dynamic attributes. And if we click on that and go into Google Maps, we'll see there's three options shown. Confused me a little bit when I first did this because it doesn't actually say that is map center coordinates, but that's actually what it applies to. And these would require a dynamic value. So normally you would pick your latitude, click your data picker into your server connect and pick your individual latitude and longitude. We can't do that in this case purely because we are using multiple markers, therefore we can't specifically just pick a record. Fortunately, longitude and latitude allow us to put a manual value in there. Sadly, the address one doesn't, but I happen to know that the address or the latitude and longitude of Leeds are 53.8 by minus 1.55. So they are static values are put in, but normally you would add them as a dynamic value where you're using a single pin situation. So there we are, very easily we've managed to center that map on Leeds, but using dynamic values or pseudo dynamic values in this case. Second thing we need to do is look at our map zoom level. At the moment we're set on map zoom 10. That's a little bit too close. Let's have a look at map zoom 8. It's great because this is interactive, so we can simply change those markers to the level that we want. Yeah, I think 6 was probably the best. It shows all of the UK. Just to show that everything's still happy, it's still working nicely. There it is in our Google Maps browser window. Now the next thing we'll need to do is look at clusters, because this is pretty messy, particularly around the London area here. As you can see, there's just a pile of map pointers, and they're really not any use to us in that way. So what we're going to see here is there's something called enable clusters, and if we check that, what Google Maps does is it clusters those map points and then just gives us totals. So instead of having 119 markers all piled on top of each other there looking a right mess, we now just have a single marker showing us there was 119, and we can click on them. I'll just do this in a browser because it always looks better in a browser. We can click on them, and as we do zoom in, then you'll see more and more of the individual markers appear. We can still click on them. We can still go through and edit those records in exactly the same way as we did before. So that's how we use markers within the Google Maps system. We had a little look at that animation. We can add custom images, but I'm not going to do that in a moment because it's a little bit beyond what we're trying to do here. One other thing I want to show you is about layers, because we can add the different types of layer as well, our traffic layers, our cycling layers. So if this was a website for cycling to your university, then we can have the layers set specifically to cover cycling routes as opposed to our road network. So we see basically all of these cycle routes here. One other thing I'm going to show you is map theming. I'm currently on Wappler version 1.2.5 because it's as I make this video, it's 13th of September 2018, and there is unfortunately a small bug within this which has been reported to the Wappler team, and I'm sure by 1.2.6 will be gone. But at the moment we can change a theme simply by clicking on an alternative theme. Let's have a look at that in our browser. Now we see we have the silver theme. Or maybe we want the night version. You see it all goes dark in the night view. One problem we have is if we try to go back to the default, at the moment we have an error there. We can't return to default. I'm sure the Wappler team will have that sorted in no time at all, because their service tends to be absolutely excellent. So they are the missing bits, shall we call it, from the first video, just to show you how to do those important things about centering maps, teach you about clustering, zooming, etc. I hope to see you again soon at Wappler Unwrapped even. Sorry, I do have trouble saying that sometimes.